Alright, so welcome back. Now that you are getting used to the CorelDRAW interface, we're going to start to design proper. And this time around, I just want you to brace yourself because it's going to be very fabulous. You know how long you started up to this point? Like I said, the core of showing you the softwares is that nobody's going to ask you about what graphic design is, or and then someone tells you, oh, for example, someone tells you, said, I want you to design a flyer for me, or I want you to design an ID card, I want you to design a brochure. I say, proximity is the nearness of this and that and that. Nobody cares about that. In the real industry, your work, your portfolio is what speaks for you. So you really need to know how to get down and get your hands dirty. And that's where the money is, because if it was that simple, nobody paid for it. So ability for you to enhance this effective communication is one step into the process of getting you ahead of the others, or on your path to success. So with that said, I want to welcome you back to this another model where I'm going to be showing you how you can create more designs or more graphics with CorelDRAW. So you've gotten used to the workspace that I've been showing you, and right now we're just going to tweak and move a step further. When you've learned how to baby step, now it's time to learn how to walk a bit. And this time I'm not going to teach you any elaborate thing, just to introduce you to some little tools, some new tools that you can use to enhance your design project. So like I said, piece by piece, I just add to you and add to you. But by that process, instead of overloading you, overbugging you, and this design becomes, or this course becomes something that you never want to give a try. You know what it means when someone is starting to bench press, and the first time the person goes into the gym, they give the person maybe like 300 kg. I mean, that's gonna break the skinny guy. But they might start with some dumbbell that's about maybe 20, 25, 50, and that's all. But with time, you'll be able to get to that level where little by little, step by step, you can actually bend press into 300, 500 kg and the likes. So the most important thing that I'm trying to show to you is that now that you've gotten your foundation right, the next steps is actually showing you what other things can you do with this, and what other next baby steps can you do. And by adding little at the end of this course, that becomes a lot. So with that said, I want you to go ahead and open your CorelDRAW, and this time around we're going to switch to a different workspace, and by that we're just going to go to the default workspace. And the default workspace is much more like the light workspace. Now, without confusing you, if you come here to the light workspace, you see that it's written Light Workspace is ideal for new users. So if you're a new user and you want to get started, Light Workspace is for you. So now we want to add something a little bit more to what we have already known. And guess what? That is not the only thing you were to learn in CorelDRAW. So if you want to learn something more after practicing that, you should ask yourself, what next can I do? And that what next is what I want to show you in this model. So with that said, I want you to go ahead and switch to the default workspace, and this default workspace carries everything with regards to the basics that you have to know moving forward. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the default workspace and switch, and you understand that your toolbar here, although it's not visible, okay, has changed. And if we go on, you see that it has workspace has been redesigned to provide a more intuitive placement of tools and controls. This workspace is ideal for users who have experience with other vector graphics softwares, as well as users who are familiar with CorelDRAW. Yes, of course, I've done the introductions. Now, like I said, even for the experts, is not everything here that they will know, or is everything here that they learn, or is everything here that they master from the word go, or from the very first time they started. So my goal is to actually show you how these things work. So I'm just going to show you maybe one thing in the course of this design exercise, and then show you another in the course of the next design exercise. So with that said, follow me as I lead you through it. So getting started, without boring you, I'd like to introduce you to what it is that we want to do. So I'm gonna go ahead, I have one of my pictures open up in here, and I'm just gonna open it up for you to see. So this is a kind of a quote card, and most of the time in a quote card, like I said, it's all baby steps into making you create things that work so that your hand can be solidified. Like I said, after 7 years of experience, I just knew how not to go up things on people's throat, especially if you're starting for the very first time. So my goal is to take you step by step into creating designs that work. So the easiest way that we can talk about compositions, or the easiest way that we can talk about designing, is for you to learn how to combine either one or two of the elements of graphics design to get what it is that you are looking for. So like I said, most visual design comprises of either one or two of the design elements. So for this one that you're seeing here, you can see the pictures, which is an element of design, and then you can see the text, and combining those two things, it helps drive the message effectively home. So what I'm going to show you is how you can create this as a foundation, and then we move forward. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and start customizing my CorelDRAW in a way that will enable me to do that. So I'm going to show you how to quickly customize it. So the very first way that you can do that is to go ahead and click on Control N. Like I said, Control N or Command N for any software will open up a new document, and with that we're going to go ahead and start customizing it in a way that will resonate with the design that we want to achieve. So the design that we wanted to achieve was actually for Instagram and for all our profile purposes. So what are we going to do? The first thing for any designer to know is to get friendly with dimensions, because if someone tells you, okay, I'm looking for design for screen size, okay, something that should work on my small pixel Surface screen phone, and you're now designing something that is for like from here to maybe 1,000 kilometers, of what good is it? So measurement and dimensions are very, very important before you start designing. For example, if you see this, you can see that it's almost like a square, a perfect square kind of design, and that is what I said, that it was actually based on Instagram size. So you need to know how to set these dimensions right. Currently it is set to size A4, which is for print, and then it's already constrained to millimeters, which is just the simplest way to measure this file size. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and just shrink and change the dimensions a bit, and then follow me. So the first thing I'm going to do is to come here and click on inches, which takes us to the premium way of designing. Yes, based on the premium way of units of measurement. Then what I'm going to do is to go ahead and change this dimension and put in 4 here, and change this dimension and put in 4 here. With that, it's going to give me a perfect square, right? Then I'm going to go ahead and just click on OK. I'm not going to do anything. I am right here on the design proper. Now for now, I'm just going to go ahead and close this, because that came when I had switched my workspace to default. Okay, for yours it's going to reset to something different. For mine, it resets to the normal interface that I work with. But then I showed you how you can add docs to the support panels that you have on this other section. So with that said, we're going to start designing, and I just want you to follow me in very, very easy steps. The very first steps that we're going to do is to go ahead and double click on this rectangle tool. So when we double click on this rectangle tool, it automatically creates a bounding box for us to work with. That's the easiest way, so that by the time you're trying to design, your design is not off grid, because once you design it off grid, it can't really print. The printer or the computer doesn't know what exactly it is you want to print, or if it actually understands what it is that you want to print, and you design this outside the bounding box, like I said, it's really not going to print. So you want to avoid that and try as much as possible to constrain your designs to this bounding box. That is the foundation. So what I want you to do is to go ahead and double click on this rectangle tool, and it's going to automatically create a bounding box for you. That's how to get started. The next thing I'm going to do is to come over here and remove the outline, so it's a little bit smooth, so I don't come back to stretch myself anymore. So I am the only person that knows what it is I have done to this design, which is going to guide me, which is going to be a foundational principle to what it is that I want to do. Now let me just show you, before we start designing, what this bounding box does for you. I'm going to go ahead and with the rectangle tool selected, I'm just going to draw maybe any shape. I'm just going to draw across it. Okay, then I'm just going to move this rectangle tool towards this, and when I move it towards the edge of this design, see how it snaps to the area. So that is exactly why we create this bounding box, so that whatever we bring into the design space or whatever we try to design will be constrained to this bounding box and create a smooth area around what it is we do, and also create a smooth design project. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this, and we're going to get started proper. So the first thing, as you can see in this design, is to get started with the basics. Like, how do you get started with the basics? The very first foundation, someone said something that if you want to fill a tin with, maybe you have stone, you have marble, and you have sand, okay, the very first thing that you can do is not to put in all the sand. If not, you leave the stones outside. The very first way you can do is to start with the biggest and the most important thing first, okay, which is the stones, which is the biggest stones, and then you could put the marble, and then you could put the sand. By the time you put the stones, then it creates a vacuum for you to put the marble, which goes inside the stones, and then for the other smaller sections that are still left, or the smaller pores that are still left, that's where the sand can go in, and with that you'll be able to fill in everything and it feels cohesive. So the very first thing that we're going to do as a foundation on what looks our stone, that what is the most important message that we want to pass across on this thing, is the pictures. And why is pictures? Because people read pictures and they just look at text. It's a little bit opposite to what you think people should do. That people are supposed to read text and then they are supposed to look at pictures. Now, that's really told by research. If you look at the Maasai people, that's how they communicate. Or before exposure, the normal or the myopic human brain actually reads pictures first and then just looks at text. Why is this important? So you can know the foundation in which I started by saying pictures are universal language and pictures speaks faster than words. So the text is not really that important because it could change depending on the cultural or social ethnic background that you're from. But the pictures has to be very, very consistent with what message that you want to drive across. Yes, the love signs that you're seeing there actually are semiotics which communicates the love by itself, and these are little stuffs which I talk to you with regards the elements that I use in design, which covers images, text, symbols. So in this context, we applied a symbol of love to further drive the message home that we're talking about what love does for your family. So with that said, we're going to go back into the design, and this time around we're going to get to the nitty gritty. So the first thing that we're going to do is to bring in the pictures. So how do we do that? You're going to come to File, and then you're going to come down here to Import. So Control I is the shortcut for import. So make sure you understand this foundation. I'm going to click on Import right here. And as I click on import, I'm going to look for where the picture is in my design. Now, there are about two ways that you can do this. So I'm going to show you one way you can do that. I'm going to show you the easy way in which I get to interact with all these things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to pictures and then find out where that picture is. With me, I know that this is where the picture is, and then I am going to select on the picture. This is the picture that I use. I'm going to click on import, and when I click on import, what I can do is to start at this edge and drag it across, and this is the max that it can give to me. Alright, so that's just one way I get to design and draw this thing. Now, in showing you the other easy way, the other easy way that I can do is to go ahead and find my folder on my computer. So with that, I'm just going to go ahead and minimize this a bit and then drag it into my CorelDRAW workspace. So that's that simple how I do it, rather than going through the long way. But if any of the ways that is good for you, I feel that you should just go ahead and do it. I'm just going to bring it back into my bounding box of the area in which I want to draw, and then with that I'm just going to go ahead and position it properly that I think it's going to be okay, and then scale it down. Now, assuming you have your image already set and done, constrained to proportions on the bounding box, and never mind when I said it doesn't have to fill the entire bounding box, except that's what you want to achieve, okay? And you could go ahead and design this way if that is what you want to achieve. But if that's not, and we still want to attain our original masterpiece, then I have to show you how I achieve that. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this image and then right click and the first option says power clip inside. So I'm going to power clip this image inside where the already existing bounding box. Now let me explain the concept of power clip. Assuming I have this object right here, and then in context I bring in my image over to my workspace, I can click on this image and right click on it. Right click on the image. You don't even need to click on it. I can right click on the image and click on power clip inside. So that's a technique. Power clip inside another object, and then you could go ahead with this first icon which says edit power clip. You can open this power clip and then start to scale your design proportionally, and then when you're done, you click on this stop editing content and you are done. So that's exactly what we want to do on the main design. You get it? So that's just the relationship regards what we're doing. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that and then focus on this one as well. So having power clipped it, I'm going to come here and click on edit power clip content, and then I'm going to start scaling. So I'm going to scale it proportionally and then bring it to the center until it fills the entire frame. Okay, having done that, we are one step ahead and very few steps to finishing. The next thing that we want to do is to start typing, and very seriously, that's exactly what it is. What we want to do is to start typing. I already did my own typing outside a notepad. What I'm going to do is just to copy the text right here and then replicate it on my design. So with that said, what I'm going to do is to come into the text tool and then click on the text once, and then press on Ctrl V to paste the text. And when I'm done pasting the text, to help me understand how it is that I want to modify things, what I'm going to do is to click on to come here and set for a font that I want to use. So to change the font, I'm going to go ahead and click on this. So I've already included this font in the support kit guide that was sent to you in the course of registering for the course. So what I'm going to do is to go ahead and make this font a little bit readable, because now it's really not readable, it's just in Open Sans form. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Beboss New, and with that I'm going to start to arrange the text in such a way that it feels cohesive, and I'm just going to show you my process. So what I'm going to do to make this text work, or in the process of my editing, is I'm going to pick a lighter shade so I could see where and how this text plays an important role in what it is that I want to do. So I'm going to come here and click on enter or return, and I'm going to start editing everything. Alright, as I'm done with that, the next thing I'm going to do is to highlight everything by pressing on Ctrl A, and then come here to align tools. Like I said, stick to one form of alignment, is to click on center line and then bring it properly to the center. But there's something I'm noticing here. If at all I want to change the color to maybe white, like what we have, it's still really not that clear. So we're going to first of all establish the contrast before we move forward, because I want to see how everything comes out. I want to see how everything feels cohesive at every step of the way. And sometimes you might want to see it, but then you have to have a picture at the back of your mind if things work or if things don't work, so that you don't go too far and then end up coming back to start all over afresh. So that is a foundation when you're starting. When you now become a professional, you can break rules at any point in time, and you could start anywhere that you want to start from. So what I'm going to do right now is to go ahead and double click on this rectangle tool to create another bounding box, and this time around I'm going to click that bounding box because that bounding box is behind the object. I'm going to click on that bounding box. I'm going to give it the color black. I'm going to color it black, and then if I press on Control Page Up or whatever it is on your design, I can bring this to front. Okay, so if I continue pressing it, I can bring this to front and it covers the image. If not, I press Control Page Down and it takes it to back. There are simple way they can do is to right click on it, and then you will see order and you see to front of page or to forward one. So the shortcut to anything that you want to do is either for anyone that is being selected at the top, you can either press Control Page Up or Control Page Down. Just make sure that you check it in the order category which shortcut allows you do what. So this is just to bring the black shape that I had created up or down. I can also take it by pressing Ctrl page down, downwards. I can also bring it upwards again. I hope that was really clear. So bringing it up once to just help create contrast between the text and the image background that's already existing in this drawing. So what I'm going to do after that being said, I'm going to go ahead and remove the outline, because it's very important for you to remove the outline so that everything feels cohesive and uniform, because you don't want someone to start reading your lines in your design. So everything that's not important, try as much as possible to keep it away from your design or take it away. So with that said, the next thing that I'm going to do is to come here to transparency. And in our previous courses, we talked about how transparency can affect your design. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the transparent tool and come here and click on uniform transparency rather than just clicking on the numbers. Now my text starts to become readable, and then I can work with this and work my way up the entire process. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this text and I'm start modifying it. But let's look at, so there is the principle of contrast right here, and there's also the principle of hierarchy in the fact that I want someone to read True Love first, and if someone is interested in love, then the person can go ahead and find out how to acquire or steps to acquiring this true love. But everything is tied to a quote. So it's not just because it's a quote, it's also directed or tailored towards passing the information effectively across. So you can see that's the effective way to apply this thing so that it can effectively communicate to your end user. So without any further ado, before I explain any other thing, I'll just go ahead and customize it in a way that resonates to what you have here so you could understand. Opening my CorelDRAW interface back again, I'm going to highlight this one and select on it, select everything, and then come here and I said one color, one font, remember the process, and click on the Boss New. That makes it lighter. Click on this one and use Boss New, and this tool that I here is just going to be that way, and then I'm going to start customizing what it is that I want to do. Now what I'm going to do finally from here is to go ahead and click on my shape tool, and when I click on my shape tool, I start to constrain the leading of this text so it feels uniform. Now it feels a little bit truncated, but I'm going to finish it up in just very few ways. I'm going to come here and double click on it back to try to edit the text, and for what I want to do, I'm going to make the text to be 60 however I want it to be, and this is just how you get to what it is that you want to do. But there are some mechanics to doing it the right way or the wrong way. For me, I'll just show you how it is that I do these things in ways that work. So the way I'm going to do that is to go ahead and break this text and start arranging it in my own way. So with that said, I'm going to click on Ctrl K and it's going to break away the text, and then I will start constraining these things my way. So this is where you have family spirit. Okay, I'm going to bring it down a bit. It doesn't have to be perfect or exactly, but then it's going to feel uniform and you're going to love it. So I'm just going to bring it down exactly, and it feels that way. We're not done, and just try to bring it in under hierarchy, and that's that. So that's exactly what it is that I want to do. This is the principle of hierarchy, so you don't have to worry. Now for the shapes and symbols or the semiotics that I introduced, I'm going to show you how to get that, which is why I switched to the default workspace, so it to be easy for you to get these things done. So I'm going to come in here to where you have polygon tool. I'm going to long press on it, and you're going to see basic shapes. Now when you see basic shapes, the next thing I always said is to understand or to study what's happening in the options toolbar. So when I come here, this is the one that is actually clickable, so I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to come here and pick on the love sign, and then just like I would normally draw my ellipse or my rectangle, I'm going to go ahead and draw the love, and then now give it a color which is white, and then drag it by holding on Control and then right click and duplicate it on this other side. So with that said, that's how I got this beautiful piece of art. You see, everything is really coming into play and into form. I could go ahead and move it straight upwards because I want to add this kind of proximity to regards the name of the person and the code that was being created. So finalizing this process, I'm going to go ahead and still bring in my text tool, and this time around I'm going to type in the name of the person as much as I want, okay, and go ahead and choose the font that I want, okay, and with that said, screenshot based on principle of hierarchy, and then break rules as needful, like I said. But you have to have a reason for breaking these rules, and then make it readable, and that's exactly what it is that I want to do. For some context, you might want to stick here. It does work for you. For some context, I just like to break rules for this reason. But you need to have a reason for breaking rules, and that's exactly for this context. I think breaking the rule was very, very legitimate. So I'm going to go ahead and create my quotation tool, quotation mark, and then still come here and pick on what it is that I want to do, and pull it here and then click on it. So with that said, we've had our first design, and I want to congratulate you for this successful product. So what do we do, and how do we send it to our client? Well, it's very easy. The first thing you should do right now is to save it to your local computer. So what I'm going to do is to come in there to file and then click on save. Okay, I'm going to save the work, and I'm going to give it my first name. You can name it whatever you want. So it automatically saves the project for me, so that next time when I close this, I could access it. So let's go back and maybe close this, and then we could access it back. So I saved it to my desktop environment. So if I double click on this, you can see it opens back into the software for me to edit. So this time what I want to do is to click on file and then click on export. You can see the shortcut Control E, so you note that, and then I'm going to export this to the same environment, or I could choose another location on my local computer and export it too. Now, you can either export it as PNG file, or as a PDF, or as an AI Illustrator file, or as a CorelDRAW, or as a JPEG file. For me, I'm just going to stick with JPEG bitmap. I'm going to export that, and you see it renders it here for me to see how it's going to look like on this phone, and this is very, very beautiful. I'm going to go ahead and click on OK, and with that said, I'll go back to my desktop, and here is it. Very, very beautiful. So this is a new one. This is the before. You can see it. This is the before, and this is the after. There's not much of a change. So that's just the principle in regards designing with CorelDRAW. That's just a technique regards designing with CorelDRAW, and I'm sure you learned a lot, yet more still awaits you. So see you in the next video.